Good morning, everyone. That's some sort of train going down this track. So this is a pen that I got on eBay yesterday. It arrived yesterday, rather. I don't know when I got it. And it's an example of a surprise. Yes, I knew it had dings. That was mentioned. I knew I could see in the picture that it had the often seen corrosion. If you get in focus, that would be handy. The often seen corrosion. For God's sake. Right there at the edge of the section, at the end of the section where the metal is corroded. Kitty, my cat. What do you want, Orca? But what the photos didn't show and what the person did not point out was that large gash right there on the back. Now, how that came to be, I'm going to just make a guess. It's a dumb guess, but it's the only thing I can think of. That someone was going to test to see if this was real gold or gold fill and filed a little bit of it to see, and then that corroded. I don't know. But even with the flaws that it has, the ding and the corrosion there and this gash with corrosion, it has a really nice nib. And the nib is even slightly bent. Now, yes, I could try to unbend that, and I might be successful, but since this pen isn't going to be sold to anyone, because no one is going to want that gash, I'll keep it myself, and I will make beautiful things with this, or attempt to make beautiful things. There's another flaw with this pen, I might as well point it out, right? Is sometimes these caps fit loosely, sometimes they're really, really snug, and this is one that fits loosely. Somehow it seems to be grabbing a little bit better right now, but it wants to fall off. And yes, a way to make that from not happen is to slightly bend it out of true. Of course, that adds yet another problem, so let's just leave it loose. I'm zooming in here if I can make this happen. But this is a really, really nice springy nib. It snaps right back to zero. Well, pretty quick. It's that snapping back that is really, really nice. That I like when it comes in a fountain pen. It's usually a little sluggish. I'm going to see if I can reset this nib because it's a little bit not set correctly. You can't see what I'm writing when I'm zoomed in. Word. Really a beautiful nib. Yes, it's a little scratchy, but I'm not going to... It's scratchy because of its tines are sort of like this, rather than together. And I should be able to fix that by resetting it. Maybe I also will try to straighten it out a bit. Let's just do that right now. You can watch me. Hopefully you won't hear me say, "God damn it," and mean it. Because if that happens, then I'm going to be upset. Because the pen writes really, really nicely right now. I'm going to see if I can make it write a little bit better. So I get my little anvil out here. I'm still zoomed in far, so you may see what I'm doing. I'm just going to try to burnish this down a bit. The nibs are the most important part of a pen, so we have to be very careful when we try to fix them. Does this look any better? Doesn't. Maybe it looks one little tiny bit better. Except the tines are even further apart than they were. Further disconjoined. What's the word I want? This is a burnisher that engravers use to erase their mistakes. When you cut a line in a piece of copper and you don't want it there, you take a burnisher and you press down and try to erase it. The right tine, this one, slightly is lower than the other one. And we don't like that to happen. So one has to go up, or the other one has to go down. But you want them to meet. The two halves of the two hemispheres of the ball of iridium, we'll call it a ball, you want to have meet to try to resemble a hemisphere. I mean a sphere, not a hemisphere. And well, that looks even worse. Let's see what happens when I set the pen in the thing here, because that sometimes changes the attitude of everything. The word. Well, this seems to be working less well. See what happens when I try to fix things? Maybe I just was hitting a bad spot. Hold on. Okay, we're going to try something. I'm actually going to use real ink. This is watered down bad ink. Okay, where's my ink bottle? Zoom out. Here's my ink bottle. Just put a new sack on it just this morning. It's a small pen. The sack is small, and the quantity of ink that it holds is not great. Okay, tell me your name. One of you tell me what your name is and I'll write it. William. William. See, the fine doesn't seem as fine as it used to be because of my repair. Now, another thing that you'll notice when you're trying out a pen at a shop or a store, when you dip it in ink and you write with it, that's different than when you fill it with ink and you write with it. There's going to be a difference. I don't know why or how, or I don't know if I can explain it the right way, but there is a difference. So that might be why I see the difference here. Sometimes the ink seems to be more generous when it's filled than when you dip. Well, the pen nib looks better than it did. It's not bent. It's not doing this. It's doing that. And hopefully, with continued tweaking and continued testing and resetting the nib, I will make it work perfectly for me. It works very, very nicely, even if it isn't quite perfect yet. Why is it railroading? Well, I could spend an hour working on this, and I don't know if I want to do that right now with you people. Okay, now what's wrong? Sometimes, too, I might take this nib out of this wahl number 2 sized pen, and I might put it in a different wahl number 2 sized pen, and it will be perfect. It just magically works. And sometimes you try doing that, and everything looks like it should work, and it works terribly. It's just the way it works. Look at that big old dent. So let's just try that out. Is this a number 2 size pen? This is a number 3 size pen. The 3 size pen and the 2 size pen look like they're the same size, except one has a bigger nib. Let's try this one. This is a dip pen nib. I put a dip pen nib in this thing. So let's just take this up because it doesn't have a lever. So let's take this out. Let's put this one in just to see what happens. There's a gap there. That's not good. So this nib, this pen holder, because we just proved that a number 3 and a number 2 sized nib are the same pen, maybe this is supposed to have a number 3 in it, which is why this dip pen nib fits so nicely in it. Look at my videos about making Franken pens, and you'll see this is another one of those caps that likes to slide off. There's some other caps that just don't even want to fit on the pen. They're so tight. Let's see. Can I find another wahl number 2? I just retired a bunch of them. What does this say? Wahl 3. Wahl 2. Okay, here's a wahl number 2 with a lever. See what happens when we switch these around. See, there's a big gap right there. So showing you how it writes is not a good idea. It's a big gap. Anyway, it's something for me to think about. Right, Kitty? I'm going to put it back where it came from. There's a big gap with this one. Let's see what happens when I put this one back in, if there's a big gap or not. See, this nib fits really nicely in this pen. And it's sort of a broad, almost a stub nib. It is a stub nib. What am I thinking? Stub nib for a stubby pen. Oh, that's right, I remember. I talked about this pen already. So, I'll keep working. Oh, this feed, maybe this feed needs to be tweaked as well. You can see that I should have used a knockout block, but sometimes I don't have to. See, this feed also has a slight downward thing to it. So if I heat this and bend it up, it will fit this more better. So let's do it. Now I know what you're doing right now. Many of you are saying, oh my God, he's going to use an open flame. Why doesn't he use a hairdryer? Well, I don't have a hairdryer. Okay, I had matches here just a minute ago. Kitty, did you take them? It was a box of matches. No, 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 no. I think my cat took them. You know, cat, you're right in the middle of everything. Well, he's actually not in the middle, he's at the side, but he's right at the side of everything. Note to self, when you're making a video, plan everything you want. So it's right there. That's my coffee cup. That's not matches. They were right here. Kitty, I'm getting a little annoyed with you. You have to move. His little tail was saying something, which I won't repeat. The first part of what his tail was saying was, pay attention to me. The second part was the part that isn't suitable for all audiences. Okay, this is now driving me crazy. It was right here. No, it's right here. See? It was underneath the stand I'm using to hold up the phone. Gosh. So, to alter the shape of a feed by applying heat, as I'm doing, will give me the ability to mold it a little bit. Now, of course, you risk burning it completely by doing this, and I'm willing to take that risk because I have hundreds of these feeds kicking around the house. I've got lots of parts of broken pens. And I find I have tried a hairdryer, and I don't like them. They make a noise, and they use electrical. I prefer the open flame. And someone said, well, why don't you use a Bunsen burner? That gives you a more steady flame, I guess, or something. I don't know what. Putting plastic, the early plastics, over a flame is embracing disaster. Okay. I think this that looks better. Let's see if it works better. Another thing you'll notice when you're setting nibs like this, oftentimes there's a sweet spot in the section's hole. You know, a section has a hole in it for the feed and the nib to go. Now the hole may be round, or it might be slightly not round. And finding that sweet spot where the pen and the feed and the nib existed, the section feed and nib existed for nearly 100 years, might, when you take them all apart and put them back together again, if you don't put them in that same spot, maybe that's going to be a problem. So if you can, try to remember where that spot was. Well, it seems to have worked. That it was both fixing the nib, bending the nib correctly, and pushing the feed up. Now, originally, the nib looked like this, bent down, and the feed also had a slightly downward bend, which was fine. It made it work. But when I straightened up the nib, then there was a gap. So I had to straighten up this. Now, how this nib got bent in the first place and how that feed got bent in the first place, I don't know. You can see that there's still a little, well, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is still a little bit of a downward angle. Now, of course it's out of focus because it doesn't know what it's supposed to focus on. Focusing on metal is difficult because the metal is reflective, so maybe it's focusing on the thing that's reflected rather than the thing that's than the surface. Really sweet nib. This is really a delightful nib. Very springy. It can do this, but it really doesn't want to. It says, don't do that. It says no, 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 but it really means yes. You can make me springy. Why it's still doing the railroading, I have to figure that out. It's not supposed to do that, obviously. Lovely little pen. This would be good for a calligrapher, and I'm a calligrapher, kind of, but it might be good for another calligrapher. I may sell this pen, and yes, it does have some issues. A gash right there which won't affect how it writes, a name right there that won't affect how it writes, and a dent. So And the name is D. Boylan. Magnifying glass. I wanted to see if I could show you what this says. Does this work? Yes, D. Boylan. Take my word for it. It says D. Boylan. The O is made almost like a square. Sharp lines. Sweet little pen. Ta-da! Effects with still some tweaking to go. Let's see if my Parker 21s from yesterday are still writing. I filled these up with water, with inky water. Inky water maybe I should fill them up with ink. This one has a nice sort of broad nib. This one is a finer green ink. Look at this. That was what was left. The person who owned this pen back in 1962 liked turquoise or peacock blue ink, whatever Parker called their ink, or Schaefer, peacock blue. So by adding water, I mixed up whatever ink was left over has become loosened and is now writing. There was ink right there. It's because I dipped it. Okay, I thought maybe it was because it was broken and had a crack, but it doesn't. If I hadn't dipped it and it was there, I'd say that it was cracked, but it's not. Perfectly fine. Okay, what am I doing? Go back to this one. I'll just write the word goodbye with this pen. Come on. Yeah, we still have to, this pen still needs some work. Needs to be tweaked. Get out the burnisher and the pliers and the anvil, and we'll make this better. But it's better than it was. And it's really a sweet nib. Someone will be happy with this. You? If you're interested, let me know. Maybe I'll send me an email. PierGustafsonStudio@gmail.com. See ya.